You stand at a crossroads. Two paths lie before you in the realm of financial decision-making. One is paved with data, systems, and radical transparency. The other is built on ancient wisdom, internal control, and emotional discipline. Ray Dalio, the billionaire hedge fund manager, has given the world his principles. The Stoics, 2,000 years ago, gave humanity a different kind of principle: the art of separating what you control from what you do not. Both promise wealth, both promise clarity, but only one promises true freedom. This is not about choosing between them. This is about understanding where they converge and where they diverge, so you can build a decision-making framework that serves your financial future without enslaving your mind. The question is not whether Dalio's methods work. They do. Bridgewater Associates manages over $100 billion using his systematic approach. The question is whether his path offers the same liberation that Stoic philosophy provides. Can you achieve financial success without becoming a servant to your own systems? Can you build wealth without losing yourself in the process? These are the questions that matter, because in the end, your portfolio is just numbers. Your peace of mind is everything. Consider the story of a man who followed every rule. He read Dalio's book. He implemented the principles. He created decision journals, tracked his trades, analyzed his mistakes with brutal honesty. He practiced radical transparency with himself. Every loss was documented. Every emotional reaction was noted. He built a machine of self-improvement, and it worked. His returns improved. His account grew, but something else grew too: an obsession. A need to optimize every decision, a fear of making mistakes that paralyzed him. He found himself checking markets at midnight, reviewing his journal entries before sleep, questioning every purchase, every choice. The system that was supposed to free him had become his prison. This is the hidden cost of systematic decision-making without philosophical grounding. Dalio's approach demands that you face reality, that you embrace pain as a teacher, that you turn failures into lessons. These are noble goals, but they rest on an assumption that enough data, enough analysis, enough refinement of your decision process will eventually lead to consistent success. The Stoics knew better. They understood that market volatility is just one form of chaos in a universe that operates beyond your control. They knew that no amount of preparation could eliminate uncertainty, and they built their philosophy on this truth rather than fighting against it. Seneca, the Roman philosopher who was also one of the wealthiest men of his era, wrote about money with a clarity that Dalio would recognize. He spoke of poverty not as a lack of resources, but as a state of mind. He warned against the impulse spending of the soul, the constant craving for more that destroys peace. He practiced capital preservation, not just in financial terms, but in psychological ones. He knew that real wealth was the ability to remain undisturbed regardless of external circumstances. This is where the paths diverge. Dalio wants you to improve your decision-making to achieve better outcomes. The Stoics want you to improve your decision-making to achieve inner freedom, knowing that outcomes remain uncertain. Think of it this way. Imagine two investors facing the same market crash. Both have lost 30% of their portfolio overnight. The Dalio disciple opens his journal. He reviews his principles. He asks what went wrong. Did he misread the data? Did he let emotion cloud his judgment? He analyzes the failure, extracts lessons, adjusts his approach. This is valuable. This builds skill. But underneath it all runs a current of anxiety, the need to figure it out, the pressure to prevent this from happening again, the subtle belief that with enough refinement, such pain can be avoided. The Stoic investor faces the same crash differently. He acknowledges the loss. He feels the emotion without being consumed by it. Then he asks a different question. What part of this was within my control? He realizes he controlled his risk management, his diversification, his decision to invest in the first place. He did not control the market's movement. He cannot control global events, central bank policies, or the collective fear of millions of traders. This clarity creates space. Space to act without panic. Space to maintain emotional discipline even as the numbers fall. Space to recognize that his worth as a person exists independently of his net worth as an investor. This is not passivity. The Stoic does not shrug and accept losses as fate. He takes action based on what remains within his sphere of influence, but he does so from a place of calm rather than desperation. He preserves his psychological capital even as his financial capital fluctuates. This is the crucial insight that separates Stoic investment strategy from pure systematic thinking. Systems are tools. Philosophy is the foundation. Without the foundation, the tools can cut you. Epictetus, who began life as a slave and died as one of Rome's most respected teachers, spoke of the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us. Our judgments, our intentions, our responses. Some things are not. Other people's actions, natural events, market movements. He argued that freedom comes from focusing all your energy on the first category while remaining indifferent to the second. Apply this to portfolio management. You control your asset allocation. You control your research process. You control when you buy and when you sell. You do not control whether the asset rises or falls after you buy it. You do not control whether your careful analysis proves correct. You do not control the timing of economic cycles. Dalio would not disagree with this division. His principles acknowledge uncertainty. His risk-parity approach attempts to build resilience against the unpredictable, but his method still seeks to optimize outcomes through better thinking. The Stoic approach optimizes the thinker instead. It asks, how can I make decisions from a place of strength rather than fear? How can I maintain clarity regardless of results? How can I build wealth quietly without it, building chains around my mind? Consider Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, one of the most powerful men in history. He had access to everything, yet he wrote in his private journals about the worthlessness of external things. He reminded himself that his possessions were temporary, that fame was meaningless, that power was fleeting. He practiced what the Stoics called negative visualization, imagining the loss of everything he had, not to torture himself, but to prepare his mind, to ensure that his peace did not depend on circumstances remaining favorable. This practice seems contrary to modern wealth mindset training, which tells you to visualize success, to affirm abundance. But there is wisdom in preparing for loss, because loss will come, markets will crash, investments will fail, economic conditions will change. The question is whether these events will destroy you or merely inconvenience you. The man in our story discovered this truth the hard way. During a particularly volatile month, his carefully constructed strategy failed. Multiple positions moved against him. His journal entries became frantic. His analysis yielded no clear answers. The system that promised certainty had delivered chaos anyway. He felt betrayed, angry, lost, until he encountered a passage from Seneca. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Something shifted. He realized he had been fighting reality rather than working with it. He had been demanding that his methods control the uncontrollable. He had forgotten the most basic truth. Financial control begins with controlling yourself, not controlling markets. This is where Dalio's pain plus reflection equals progress formula requires a Stoic amendment. Pain plus reflection can equal progress, but only if the reflection includes acceptance of what cannot be changed. Only if progress is measured not just in financial returns but in psychological resilience. Only if you recognize that the ultimate goal is not wealth accumulation, but the freedom that comes from needing less than you have, wanting less than you can afford, and remaining unmoved by the fluctuations of fortune. Let us build a framework that synthesizes these perspectives, a way of making financial decisions that honors both the systematic rigor of Dalio and the philosophical depth of the Stoics. This is not about rejecting one for the other. This is about creating a foundation that makes the tools more effective because they rest on stable ground. First, establish your internal scorecard. Dalio speaks of having clear principles that guide decisions. The Stoics would add, ensure those principles serve your freedom, not your ego. Before making any significant financial decision, ask yourself what you truly control in this situation, not what you hope to control, not what you think you should control, what you actually control. This clarity prevents the illusion of control that destroys so many investors. You control your research process. You control your position size. You control your exit strategy. You do not control the outcome. Second, practice premeditation of adversity before every investment. Dalio's approach includes stress testing strategies, running scenarios, preparing for what could go wrong. The Stoic version goes deeper. Before you invest, sit with the possibility of total loss, not just intellectually but emotionally. Imagine how you would respond. Imagine your life continuing, your worth as a person remaining intact, even if this investment fails completely. If this visualization creates panic, if you cannot stomach the thought, you are risking too much. Not too much money necessarily, but too much peace. The position size is wrong or the investment is wrong. This practice is not pessimism. This is insurance for your mind. Third, separate decision quality from outcome quality. This is where Dalio and the Stoics align perfectly. You can make an excellent decision that produces a terrible outcome because you operate in uncertainty. You can make a terrible decision that produces a great outcome because you got lucky. Dalio's principle journals attempt to separate these by focusing on the process. The Stoic addition is this: even a perfect process does not guarantee results. You may do everything right and still lose. This is not failure. This is reality. Judge yourself on what you controlled: your research, your discipline, your adherence to your principles. Release attachment to what you did not control. The market's response. Fourth, build capital preservation into your identity, not just your strategy. The Stoics spoke of preserving the rational mind above all else. In financial terms, this means protecting your ability to continue making decisions. It means avoiding the gambler's ruin of betting so much that a single loss destroys you. It means maintaining liquidity, not just for opportunities, but for peace. It means recognizing that the greatest risk is not missing gains, but losing your capacity to think clearly. Dalio's all-weather portfolio approach reflects this wisdom, but take it further. Preserve psychological capital as fiercely as financial capital. Fifth, practice long-term investing as a form of philosophical exercise. The Stoics lived with cosmic perspective. They reminded themselves that empires fall, that civilizations rise and crumble, that even the sun will eventually die. This was not nihilism but proportion. Your current portfolio fluctuations matter less when viewed against the span of decades. Your quarterly returns matter less when viewed against the arc of your entire investing life. Dalio's institutional approach naturally takes a long view because his clients demand it. Bring that same patience to your personal investments. 6. Eliminate impulse spending not through willpower but through philosophy. Dalio might track expenses and create systems. The Stoic asks why you want to spend in the first place. Seneca noted that we buy things to impress people we do not like with money we do not have. We accumulate possessions thinking they will fill an internal void. They never do. Practice voluntary discomfort. Fast from purchases. Question every desire. Ask whether this expense serves your freedom or your slavery. The money you save matters less than the clarity you gain. 7th, create decision-making protocols that include emotional check-ins. Dalio's believability-weighted decision-making seeks the best thinking from the most qualified sources. Add to this the Stoic practice of checking your own emotional state before deciding. Marcus Aurelius would ask himself each morning, "What am I about to encounter today? Difficult people, chaos, setbacks. How will I respond? With virtue, with calm, with reason." Before making investment decisions, check your state. Are you deciding from fear or greed? Are you chasing performance or following your plan? Are you reacting to noise or responding to signals? If your emotions are driving, step back. Wait, regain your center. 8th, embrace building wealth quietly as both strategy and virtue. Dalio built Bridgewater on a foundation of radical transparency internally, but remained relatively unknown publicly for decades. The Stoics would approve. There is power in silence, power in not announcing your successes, power in letting your results speak rather than your words. Social media has created a culture of financial performance art. Everyone displays their wins, hides their losses, creates narratives of effortless success. This is poison. Build your wealth in private. Share your lessons if they help others, but do not seek validation through your balance sheet. The man from our earlier story integrated these practices slowly. He kept Dalio's journal but changed what he tracked. Instead of obsessing over every decision's outcome, he tracked his adherence to his principles. He tracked whether he maintained composure during volatility. He tracked whether he acted from his values or his fears. He practiced negative visualization before each trade, sitting with the possibility of loss until it no longer controlled him. He reduced his position sizes until he could sleep peacefully regardless of market direction. His returns did not dramatically change, but his relationship with those returns transformed completely. This is the synthesis. Use Dalio's systematic approach to build skill, to learn from mistakes, to refine your process. But ground it all in Stoic philosophy so the system serves you rather than consuming you. Recognize that financial discipline is not about restriction, but about freedom. The discipline to save is freedom from dependence. The discipline to invest wisely is freedom from financial anxiety. The discipline to accept uncertainty is freedom from the illusion of control. These freedoms compound over time just like returns. And unlike returns, they cannot be taken from you by market crashes or economic downturns. Consider what separates those who achieve financial independence from those who chase it forever. It is not usually intelligence or access to information. It is the ability to maintain clarity amid chaos, to stick with a plan when everyone around you is panicking, or when everyone around you is euphoric. To know yourself well enough that your decisions reflect your actual values rather than socially conditioned wants. Dalio's principles can help build the plan. Stoic practices can help you stick with it through the inevitable storms. The current economic system does not want you to have this clarity. It profits from your confusion, your fear, your constant seeking. It wants you to believe that happiness lives on the other side of the next purchase, the next investment, the next level of wealth. It wants you checking prices, comparing yourself to others, feeling inadequate so you will consume more, risk more, work more. The system wants you poor in spirit even if you are rich in assets. Because a person at peace, a person who knows what is enough, a person who cannot be manipulated by fear or greed, that person cannot be controlled. Stoicism makes you free in the most literal sense. Free from the need for external validation. Free from the fear of loss because you have already accepted impermanence. Free from the pressure to perform because you measure yourself by internal standards. Free from the exhaustion of wanting because you have learned to appreciate what you have. This freedom does not prevent you from building wealth. If anything, it makes wealth building easier because you operate from abundance rather than scarcity, from calm rather than panic, from strategy rather than reaction. Ray Dalio discovered through pain that reality operates according to principles. The Stoics discovered through contemplation that peace operates according to different principles. Both sets matter. The question is which set is foundational. Build your financial life on Stoic philosophy, and Dalio's methods become powerful tools. Build your financial life on systematic thinking alone, and you may achieve wealth, but lose yourself in the process. You have watched this video for nearly 20 minutes. That attention is valuable. Do not waste it by returning to unconscious patterns. Take one practice from what we have discussed. Just one. Maybe it is the dichotomy of control applied to your next investment decision. Maybe it is negative visualization before you risk capital. Maybe it is questioning an impulse purchase. Maybe it is simply sitting in silence for 5 minutes before checking your portfolio. One practice, implemented consistently, will do more for your financial well-being than a dozen books read and forgotten. Subscribe to Money and Stoicism to master your finances and your mind. Like this video if you seek true freedom. This channel exists to build a community of people who refuse to separate wealth from wisdom, who recognize that financial success without philosophical grounding is just gilded slavery. Write in the comments, what is one area where you confuse what you control with what you cannot control in your financial life? This is not a quiz. This is an opportunity for clarity. Here is your reflection question. If you achieved complete financial independence tomorrow, but retained all your current fears, anxieties, and insecurities about money, would you actually be free? Thank you for investing these 20 minutes in becoming not just wealthier but wiser. The next video will give you another tool, another perspective, another step on the path toward financial mastery rooted in timeless wisdom. The card that just appeared will take you deeper into this synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern wealth strategies. Watch it. Your future self will thank you.